The Rock and Roll Coffee Show is brought to you by Writers and Rockers Coffee Company, keeping the music and memories alive with some damn good coffee. Be sure to pick up your Rock and Roll Coffee Show coffee only at writersandrockerscoffee.com. And also brought to you by Retroactive, located at Broadway at the Beach in Myrtle Beach, South Carolina, keeping you retro with everything from 70s, 80s, and 90s. ShopRetroactive.com.
It's the Rock and Roll and Coffee Show. Yeah, with Joe.
Welcome to the Rock and Roll and Coffee Show. My next guest is Pete Evick. Pete is a musician and author. He is currently out on the road with the Bret Michaels Band in support of the Parti-Gras tour, but he also has a new book that just came out called MTV Famous. I'm going to talk to Pete about this book. I'm going to talk to him about his new bourbon that he also has out, as well as an upcoming hot sauce that he will be releasing. Next on the Rock and Roll and Coffee Show.
It's the Rock and Roll and Coffee Show. Yeah, with Joe.
All right, Pete. So thanks for joining me. You're currently out on the road on the Parti-Gras tour. Got some time off right now, right?
Yeah, a couple days. Yeah.
Yeah,
We're
and then
right
you head
back at
right
it.
back out. How's the tour going?
You know what? I think it's going great. If you read the reviews, I haven't seen anything bad yet. It seems like everyone understands. I get more shocked that people didn't quite understand what it was going to be until they saw it. The idea of guests coming out and playing with us on stage with our band. Everyone's like, "Oh, I didn't understand that's how that was going to be." I thought it was a pretty obvious explanation, but I'm having a blast. It's a lot of fun to play those Sugar Ray songs. It's a lot of fun to play the Journey songs. And obviously playing the Poison songs is great, but the reviews are great. People are having fun. You can feel the energy in the amphitheaters, and I couldn't say I don't know that it could go better than it's going.
Did you guys have to do a lot of rehearsal beforehand?
We did do a lot of
Did you?
rehearsal. Yeah, more than we've ever done. In the 20 years I've been with Bret, we've rehearsed 3 or 4 times, really, to be honest with you. Um, and this we took a week ahead of time where the whole band got together and rehearsed. We rehearsed with Bret, we rehearsed with Steve, we rehearsed with Mark McGrath, and but the rehearsal was more about making the set flow together, more about the not the meat of learning the songs, but about where to put them so that they felt right in the set and it didn't feel like there were too many guest songs in between the Poison songs, in between our material. So it took us a while just to get the flow to work correctly because Bret didn't want a lot of downtime in between the music. He just wanted to kind of go song between song and just keep the hits rolling. So there was a lot of work in timing that stuff and putting the music correctly to flow together.
So this is all hits, as you say. So it's like no filler songs. It's all going to be songs everybody knows from
Yeah,
all the artists.
everything right. Yeah, that's the whole concept of it.
Okay. And when did you start, or when did Bret start getting this idea together?
To be honest with you, he's been talking about it for 7 or 8 years. He's used different terms and different concepts, and we've done it a couple times with Mark McGrath and with Steve, but never in its full swing like this. But he's had it in his head for a long time.
And you're on the first leg of the tour now. How long does this run go?
Actually, this particular run of this, the way it is with Mark and Steve, ends on Sunday. But we've already gotten the calls from Live Nation and everybody that they're going to pick it up again next year and put more dates out and make it bigger. So it worked. It did what Bret wanted it to do. It kind of, you know, I like to say, Lollapalooza changed the way the concert going experience went. It was basically the birth of the modern day festival, the way we know it. And nothing's really evolved much since then as far as how you have a concert experience, other than technology, lights and staging and stuff like that. But this is kind of an evolution in the concert experience, and it's not going to surprise me that something like this doesn't catch on and you start seeing it happen more and more.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it sounds like a great time. Sounds like it's going to be a party. I'm going to go to the Charlotte show,
That's
so I'll
right.
be out
Can't
there on
wait.
Sunday. So it's going to be a great time. I'm
Yeah.
looking forward to it.
Yeah, I can't wait for you to come and see it, man.
But you have, I don't know how you do it because you're doing this tour right now and you just released your new book,
Right.
MTV Famous. and you've
Right.
got a bourbon out, which we're going to talk about. You've got a sauce out that we're going to talk about, not to mention your candle company.
Yeah.
How do you do it, man?
Well, so in all honesty, the book and the bourbon and the sauce were all things that I started working on a long time ago. None of them were supposed to happen at the same time, and none of them were supposed to land when we started the tour. And everything landed on that same week. It just happened that way. And it was truly, I appreciate what you're saying. You've known me a long time. A lot of people know that I do like to work hard. I like to keep busy. I like to stay creative. But for the first time in my life, I will tell you it was too much. I, I'm overwhelmed with it right now. I don't know. I wake up in the morning, I go, do I promote the book? Do I promote the bourbon? Do I promote the tour? And I hate to overwhelm my fans and friends and family. I hate to spam them with stuff. So there's a fear that none of the things are doing as well as they could because I'm not able to focus on all of them. So that's creating a strange anxiety in me. But I just I will tell you I'm exhausted.
I'm sure.
I'm not complaining about that. Yesterday we came home and I slept most of the day yesterday, and it's so unlike me. I couldn't even answer calls or text. I literally had to take the day and just sit on my couch or rest. Um, Not like me, but I did it. And then I woke up today and was able to feel more like me and got back to working and promoting on things.
You got to take a rest though. Sometimes you got to give yourself that break.
I did yesterday, but it
Yeah.
felt weird to me, man. I don't I don't know how to explain it, but you're the same way.
I'm the same way. Yeah. You know me. I'm the same way. You
Go
got,
when you
got,
want to go.
yeah.
Look at your retro active poster back there.
You like that? You been
Yeah,
there?
I've been there a couple of times. You know it well, right?
Yes. 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 So let's talk about your book.
Okay,
MTV Famous. Got it right here.
there you go.
Okay.
You got to admit, man, you got to admit the cover's interesting, right?
I love it.
Yeah, the cover is uh, it I so I had months and months and months to think about the cover, and nothing exciting came to me. And then some other people were showing me, other people involved were showing me cover concepts that weren't bad, but I knew 100% they weren't what I wanted. And then I started to stress about it. And then literally just a vision came to me of that cover. And I went to my buddy Chris Carroll and said, I drew him this terrible picture. I said, can you create something like this? And he came up with that. And I don't know, I'm not an artist and I can't take credit for making the art, but it was my idea. But I think the cover is pretty eye grabbing. I'm pretty proud of it.
Yeah. It looks great. Is that your guitar?
It is.
Yeah.
So yeah, that in the book I tell a story about that guitar. Um, I had that guitar in 1987, 88. My parents had it built for me. I used to ride BMX bikes, and people that had BMX bikes, if you would remember, sometimes had colors. Like I had the green mag wheels and the mushroom grips and the green whatever. And so my parents actually bought me the guitar to match my bike. And I was already a Poison fan, but I got that guitar between Look What the Cat Dragged In and before Nothing But a Good Time came out. And in Nothing But a Good Time, Cece's playing that exact same guitar, the green rich, except his says Cece on it or whatever. And there's always been such irony about that particular guitar. And a lot of people think I bought it because of my love for Poison, and not at all. I had it long before that was a thing. So
Right. Right. So in this
yeah.
book, you get in, it's different than your first book. How would you compare the two for if someone read your first book, what can they expect in this one?
So, I mean, the first book was an inspirational book, and it was meant to just talk about moments in my life. It was called The Moments That Make Us. It was meant to talk about moments in my life that I found groundbreaking and changed my life on a dime, stopped me in literally in 1 second, sent me on a different path than I was on. In this book, it's my musical journey, and I still worked really hard to make it about those moments. It's very much very similar in the fact that each story has a defining moment that changed my life and set me on a different direction. But this is more entertaining. It's more funny. It's more raw. It's more aggressive. The other book was really clean. I left the F word out of a lot. This book, I let it all hang out and let my voice be my voice as I am today. And I think that some people will still find inspiration in it, but it's certainly just my tale of my journey from, a lot of people write their story from a certain age to, you know, when you write an autobiography about the music business, you'll write it about kind of your first signed band or your first big band into who you are today. I went all the way back to the second I picked up the guitar.
Mm-hmm.
And I talk about my high school bands and I talk about stuff like that prior to being in Bret's band. There's a million people that think my success started 20 years ago when I joined Bret's band, but for 10 years before that, I was riding around in a van making a living. I had records out. I was signed to record deals, and I was making music. And I think it was important for everyone that has interest in me as a musician. I want them to know that story. I've always said it doesn't matter whether you get into a band like Bret's or you get into AC/DC or you join another local band. I've always noticed that when you start a new band, you'll pick up some new friends, some new fans, and those fans kind of act like your career started the day they met you. Not
Right.
if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
And they'll be like, "Oh, I've been following you since the beginning." But you don't really know when the beginning is. You were, you know what I mean? The beginning was 5 years old. So,
Yeah.
and I've always thought that to interesting perspective from a lot of fans meet you and don't do the history and due diligence to find out all the records and different things you had out before the moment they met you. And so I started at 5 years old and give everyone the entire journey.
Yeah, I've loved it. I'd say about halfway through it now. Um,
Oh,
and
really?
I'm enjoying it. I'm up to chapter 6 or something like that, part 2 almost.
And you find it interesting enough to keep reading?
Yes, I want to keep reading it, but my lifestyle. It's hard to find that time to
Oh, yeah,
read.
yeah, right. I'm surprised you got that far, to be honest with you.
Me too.
So,
But yeah,
yeah.
so you get into a lot of things in there. I mean, you talk about your childhood, of course, with your mom being supportive and your dad not having the best
Mhm.
relationship with him, but it sounds like he was still supportive because he was helping you with things, making you masks and you know.
Yeah. No, my dad was supportive. He just was into what he was into, and he
Mhm.
was much like me. He was a workaholic. So if you wanted to be part of my dad's life, you did what he did. That's how it was. He wasn't gonna come do what I was doing. I had to do what he was doing. If I wanted time with my father, I had to help clean the garage or help change spark plugs or make bullets with him. You lived on his terms and did the things he wanted to do, and some of that interested me for a little bit, but it didn't. I at a very early age, I wanted to do my thing. He was a kind guy to me. He was a loving guy, and he was a tough guy too. He was an ex-military auto mechanic type of guy. He was a good old boy, but he was kind to me. He just did his thing, and I did my thing.
Mhm. I liked how you talked about your I don't know if it was your first band, but Some Odd Reason. Um,
Yeah,
you
the
got
first
into
time
that a
band.
little. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
I didn't know that. I didn't know that
right.
about you. So it was
And
nice to.
it's interesting for the people that don't know because that part of my life was as big at that point as joining Bret's band. I mean, signing a record deal and going on tour and doing all that stuff. That was success. That was. I thought within a year I was going to have a big house with 3 swimming pools in the backyard.
Didn't we all, right?
Yeah, right. Yeah.
How about the singer Ryan? Where's Ryan these days?
Ryan lives in Pittsburgh now. He's married. He's happy. The thing with Ryan is like I say in the book, Ryan had this golden voice. You and me have talked about before how much I love Bryan Adams, and he was Bryan Adams, man. And but he'd never been an entertainer in his life. He'd only done open mics and little things like that. And I wasn't. I was dealing with the grunge thing and had kind of quit playing live music because I didn't know how to do that. and he came along, and he just breathed a new life into me that I didn't think I was going to have, and we made some great music for a lot of years. His first gig he ever did was opening for Cheap Trick in front of a sold out crowd. So I think that once we got out on the road and it was $50 a night playing for 10 people in different clubs, you know how that goes as an original band. And we were on the same circuit that, we would go through and play the same clubs that Matchbox 20 had just played the year before, or Hootie and the Blowfish. And we were on the circuit and doing the right things, but it just, at the end of the day, it really wasn't for him. We made great music and made history in my book, in my life, and it's some of the absolute greatest memories of my life and greatest times of my life. And I'm grateful we're still in touch, because things got nasty, man. I didn't want him to leave, and I didn't know how to handle that, you know. But yeah, he was great. He still is great. I actually talked to all those guys once the book came out, just talking about wondering if all these years later we could write one more song and it actually sound like Some Odd Reason, if we all still could. And we had a sound, we had a thing, you know what I mean? And
Is that music out there?
yeah, it's on iTunes. It's been out since the day iTunes came out. It's been out there. Yeah, and it's very pop stuff. It's still 100% me. It's not much different than the Evick stuff, but his voice was different, and it had a little bit more poppy energy to it. But yeah, I think that after the Parti-Gras tour and after I get through some other things, I think that my goal is to try to write at least one Some Odd Reason song, maybe two, and expose the people that I know that don't know it, like you, to that. I just want it to sound the same as it did, if that makes sense.
Mhm.
After 20 some years, almost 30 years, we've all evolved.
Sure,
We could tell we were evolving from after the first record into the second record. The music was starting to change a little bit, which is what happens. I'm a big fan. I've always been a big fan of bands evolving, and you as a fan moving with it. In fact, I feel like Kiss and Van Halen, the Beatles, some of those timeless, legendary bands. I feel like part of what made them legendary is because we grew with them. Kiss's first album compared to just their third album, Hotter Than Hell, you could feel the progress, how much better they got. Poison, from Look What the Cat Dragged In into Flesh and Blood, the evolution of the band and the maturity, you could feel that you grew with them. And I think that was something that's missing today. Nowadays, when a band makes their first record, it sounds like sounds exactly like their 10th record is going to sound. It's produced, polished, perfect, and it is what it is. And I recognize that was happening with us in Some Odd Reason. Even when we started writing material for our second record, it went from kind of pop and fun to a little more musical, which musical's fine. We're all musicians, but there's a fine balance when you're writing pop songs that you don't want to turn them into Rush songs. You know
yeah,
what I mean?
yeah.
Yeah.
What made you want to write your story? Tell your story.
Um, well, Steve Olivis, when I was promoting my best days, and 99 Red Balloons, and I came on your show, and I came on Steve Olivis show. I hope I say his name right. I know that's how to say it.
Levis. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah, Olivis. And we were talking about my first book, and then we had a conversation outside of the podcast about if I ever wanted to write a second book, he'd be interested in doing it with me. And it just felt like a sign that I got such a reward out of writing my first book. I can't explain how rewarding it was mentally, financially. It did great, but it was a lot of work. And there were days when I went, oh, I can't wait to write a second book, and there were days where I went, I'm never ever putting myself through that again. And but Steve worked me through it, got me excited about it, and we wrote it together. And I just the fact that he, as an author, had interest in telling. He read the first book, and then he said he'd be real excited to make a second one with me, and that was all the boost I needed to give it a shot.
That's awesome. Steve's a great guy, a mutual friend of both of ours, and
Yeah.
he's got a great sense of humor. And
Yeah.
I think in the writings with you guys, it comes
Yeah,
through,
yeah.
and it's a really fun read.
Yeah, it's funny because I'm not much of a funny guy, you know that, and so a lot of the jokes and stuff, uh, there's there it doesn't there's parts of it that aren't exactly my voice, but somehow he took his humor and still made it sound like me. Like when I read it back, it doesn't sound like someone else. It certainly is my voice and my stories. So for him to be able to interject a little kindness and humor where I'm usually kind of stern and just kind of straight faced, I think that really, really helped with what the readers are going to experience.
Yeah, no, when I was reading it, I could totally picture you saying everything that's in there. So it was you.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, that's important, that's hard, you know what I
Yeah.
mean? Even with my first book, um, which I did much different, I still would send it to the editors, and the editors would write back, I'm sorry, my phone's ringing. My editors would write back, and I would have to change things because it just didn't sound like my voice, and for some reason, that is crucial to me to make it, because I know that my friends and my fans and my family really enjoy my social media posts and when I express myself on there, and they all talk about me being a good storyteller. So it's important for me to make that ring true. And I think Steve did a absolute wonderful job of helping me sound like me with him being in what he did. I couldn't be more proud of it. I don't know what to say. I didn't know what it was going to end up like, and you know, I knew that I had to tell some raunchy stories and I knew I had to lean a little bit toward that dirt type of stuff. I told some of that, but I didn't want to tell all of that, and I didn't want to just be kind and cool and sound like everything was roses. Um, I wanted it to be a roller coaster of emotion, and he, he 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 did a great job helping me get that across.
Yeah, I agree. It's got its highs, its lows. You talk about loneliness, you get into Brett's health a little bit when all that stuff happened.
Yeah, and
You
you're
know,
only in chapter 6, it gets way deeper with that stuff.
yeah. Well, I glanced through some of the other stuff, but
Oh, yeah,
I'm reading it. I'm at chapter 6, but yeah. So great job on this book. I'm looking forward to finishing it.
right on, thank you, brother.
Yeah. Was it, let me ask you this about it. Was it difficult, like when you were writing it well, I better not say this or, that kind of thing? Because I would
Yeah,
think that would be hard. You don't want to hurt someone's feelings. You
right.
know what I mean?
It, literally, it was crippling, that part of it. Um, there's truth be told, and it's funny, I have made fun of Nikki Sixx since The Dirt came out.
You don't
Um,
like Nikki.
I'm not gonna go much further,
I like Nikki. He was
but
my guy when I was a kid.
you know, uh, but a lot of that stuff, I was reading it and I knew it to be not true or what I thought was not true because I was such a fan in the day and I was such a rock historian as a kid that reading that book, some of it was out of time. Some of it was, I knew that this part that he's writing about happened back here, not here. Uh, and I knew I was right about it. You could trace that stuff and you can go through yourself and find the history of how out of whack that book is on the timeline. And then, Vince came out and said uh, things about how he doesn't remember anything that happened in that book and it's probably all lies. And so I was really down on Nikki for a long time, but I will tell you that in just writing this book and knowing that um, me and Steve made a joke about the fact that I told maybe 14 years worth of stories that I thought all happened in 1998. Every time I would tell him something, I'd be like, this happened in 1998.
The busy
And,
year.
and he went back and was managed to find people or newspaper clippings or just blog posts or he somehow he was able to research these things and he came back to me. He's like, Pete, I'm finding out that everything you're telling me is true, but we have a big problem. None of this stuff happened in 1998. He's like, some of this happened as far back as 1992. Some of it happened in 2002. There's about 10 to 12 years of stories, and you keep telling me they happened in 1998. And I started to realize on a very small scale, maybe what Nikki went through writing that book.
And you weren't even on drugs like that.
Right. You get what I'm saying? So I feel for him. I've already had one of the drummers that was in Some Odd Reason, Eric Spencer, has already read the book in its entirety, and he corrected me on the timeline already. And he was like, I tell this story about being in Arizona one night and that next night being in Texas. And he swears that Texas was the first night and Arizona was the second night. We were both drinking heavily at the time. That was right in the middle of the total excess and the total disregard for everyone and everything. But I have to believe he's probably right about it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
He seems very firm that those two nights were switched. So I respect a little bit more of what Nikki was doing with the dirt, and I understand now that when you're recollecting stories, especially when there's substance abuse involved, that all you can say, like I say at the beginning of the book, is these are the stories as I remember them.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know?
No,
Yeah.
you're right.
Right.
So the book is available now, MTV Famous. Where is the best place for someone to get this if they want to get it?
Amazon. Just go to Amazon. You can get the Kindle version or the hard copy version.
Definitely recommend this hardcover version. Very nice.
Yeah, cool.
Yeah. So not only do you have the book, let's talk about the bourbon.
All right. Yeah.
When, like, why bourbon? Were you a bourbon lover?
So as I learned in the last 6 months, there are some big deal bourbon connoisseurs in the world, right? And whiskey guys, and there's clubs and there's secret societies and there's all this stuff. What I wanted to do was the candles is a big thing, and not the bourbon, the hot sauce. I don't think any of that's ever going to be what I turned Shining Soul into. We turned that into something giant, and that was a huge undertaking. And I'm so proud of it. But that's not what I'm after with this stuff. I just wanted to get into some stuff that I consider lifestyle stuff for me, stuff that I'm into. And I drink a lot of Jack Daniels. And so I think that's what led me down that path. And I'm so into with every day I grow more and more passionate about my hometown. And you and me have talked about that thing. I long to be John Bon Jovi, not the rock star he is. I long to be the guy that from Sayreville, New Jersey, that's still proud to be from Sayreville, and John Mellencamp. That those two guys touched me so hard with their roots and being from their roots, and even Dee Snider being from Long Island, he was very much that guy. And the older I get, the more I hold on to my hometown, and there's this local distillery with a bunch of great people, and the conversation just came up about a limited run of bourbon that I would be proud to put my name on, and they accepted it open arms, and we went and we worked with it for months, and I'm proud of it, man. I'm proud of it. It's scary because it's expensive. It's not a $14 bottle of Jack Daniels. What it is a real product for real bourbon lovers. So it's not a gimmicky thing that I obviously I have some fans and friends that bought one bottle to put on their wall and collect, and I'm grateful for that. But I was trying to make something that people will want to drink and buy it again. I wanted it to be the real deal, and it really is. The reviews on it are mind-blowing good, and that's scary, man. The day that I went in and I had to pick the final product from 3 different barrels, and they had these 3 different whiskey glasses with it in it, and my mind just went insane. I started going, do I even know what the fuck I'm doing? Am I really going to know the difference between this one, this, and this one? And what if I like the worst one? What if if I'm just picking what I like, that's all I can do. But what if there's something about it that I like that all these, super bourbon connoisseurs are going to pay $70 a bottle know that I don't know, and that I, it was like playing, like in my brain, it was like playing Wheel of Fortune. You were down to one letter, and I picked the wrong letter. You know what I mean? That's what it felt like. It was crazy that day picking out of those three, but I picked what I liked, man, and all three were great. And then I started trying to, my brain started going, well, maybe they don't taste the same, or maybe they all taste exactly alike, and I'm tricking myself. Maybe, those kind of things you can go
Yeah,
through,
yeah.
and I just the one that I picked, I was sure that was the right one. There was nothing in my brain that could told me different, that I liked that one the best. But second guessing myself for days after it was
Mm.
horrifying. Once you pick it, it's done too, because I harvest that bottle or harvest that barrel, and that's my bourbon, and I'm proud of it. That's all I can say. I read the reviews online, and I just think, wow, I got lucky with that, because that could have gone wrong. And I think it's good. Are we allowed to talk about the fact that you came up for
Sure.
yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it
Yeah.
must have been cool enough that you made that drive.
Yeah. I mean, I thought it was a very successful release of the bourbon. I thought that
Mhm.
went over great.
Yeah.
And the tasting, everyone seemed to like it. I didn't hear anyone.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know if they would said anyway, but I didn't hear anyone mumbling about, oh, this isn't
Yeah.
good.
There wasn't like, let's
Yeah.
get the fuck out of here.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Everyone
Yeah.
had a good time. It was good.
So I'm proud of it. And we'll see. It's like I told you, uh, I'm not going to put my name on things that aren't who I am.
Yeah.
And so whether it's this or the hot sauce that's coming in a few weeks, or it's not really a hot sauce, it's a marinade. It's just whatever I get my hands into is 100% me, 100% real, and 100% something that's in my kitchen or my living room or my life. And it's just, maybe I'm Martha Stewart with a bunch of lifestyle products that.
That's one of the things I like about you, Pete, is when you get, from the years that I've known you, when you get involved in something, when you want to do something, you do it 100%.
100%, you have
Yeah.
to. Yeah, and you know what? I think maybe you and me have talked in the past before too, is it's also important for me to continually not just show my kids, but show anyone that at any age and at any point in my life, I'm beating the odds at 50 years old doing these things. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And and don't get me wrong, there's people without limbs, and there's people that have done, that inspire people much different with much more adversity than just being an old white dude. But my point is still that I like to just inspire the fact that all you have to do is have an idea, and anyone can make anything happen. I believe that, man.
Yeah.
Yep.
I'm with you. I believe it.
Yeah, yeah, you too. You get an idea and you fucking roll with it too, and
Yeah.
keep going.
Yeah. Well, you mentioned your hot sauce too. So that's not even out yet, right?
Well, so before COVID, we released it, and then everything just got too much. And with Shining Soul, I had to dive in. Me and my partner Darren had to dive in 100%, 200%, just to make that survive. We'd lost our third partner, and I talk about that in the book too. We didn't. She didn't pass away, but she had to protect her family. She has a child with a autoimmune disease, or probably saying that wrong, but she has a child with a disease that COVID would have killed the kid. And so her life became protecting that child. And so me and Darren had to go 200% into Shining Soul and let everything else go. In all honesty, thank God touring stopped, because I would have lost Shining Soul to touring during COVID. So I let the sauce company go all during COVID. And then Clark, my partner in the sauce company, recently came to me and he goes, man, let's get this happening. Let's do it. And I was at a point where I had the time and energy to be able to re-kick it back off. And we made some changes about, we were manufacturing the stuff ourselves, which is a gigantic undertaking. And I manufacture the candles at Shining Soul. I manufacture those. So I thought, in my brain, I was in the manufacturing business. I understood how that worked. The food industry is so much different. But by the time I'd learned how to do it, I'd learned so much. I was like, let's just do this. But the real way to do this, as you know, because you do the same thing, is to use a co-packer and have someone make your recipe for you that has built the business on how to do that. And that's what they do every single day. And you just focus on creating your brand. And at first I didn't believe that worked like that. Like my partner Clark, who is one of the most famous chefs in town, and every restaurant in town uses one of his recipes for something. And I was like, well, and he has access to a community kitchen, which met the laws and rules of us being able to make it for ourselves. And but he was like, let's just go down to Virginia Beach to this co-packer and we'll make it down there, and give them our recipe. And they made a batch of it while we were down there, and it came out exactly like it was supposed to come out. And I saw the light of that's how to do it. Now there's expense to that, so we're going to relaunch that. And that's a product that product is something that I'm uniquely proud of. The first sauce, it's called Evick's number 4. I'm proud of that because I 100% believe it's unique. I believe that when you taste it, it's something brand new. And so for that, I'm excited about that. I'm not in the market of just copying something. You know what I mean? Even though bourbon is bourbon, and but in that particular field, I wanted to come up with a product that no one had ever tasted before in their life. And I'd made that stuff for 10 years. Whenever I'd have a barbecue or have friends over, I would make that sauce and marinade shrimp in it. That's where it started.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
But the other thing about the company is called the Virginia Sauce and Spice Company, and my product is just the first of what's going to be many. My partner Clark makes this incredible ketchup that literally restaurants in town use his ketchup. People go there just to buy his ketchup and eat the ketchup. He made it for his kid when his kid was born, his first child. He made this ketchup because he knew that inevitably ketchup is one of the first things kids get addicted to, and it's pure sugar, the way we buy ketchup today. And he wanted a healthy alternative for his child, and so it was driven out of a passion and a reason to make it. And that'll be one of our next products. But the other thing was, Virginia Sauce and Spice Company is supposed to, when it's up and rolling correctly, sort of be like a record company for sauces and spices and different food products. And I have a lot of friends that have different products that they make, different barbecue sauces, different things. And again, I try to inspire people, because I have so many of my friends that are always like, oh man, I'd love to launch my barbecue sauce, or I'd love to launch my dry rub. And I have a lot of friends, I don't want to insult them, but they get stuck right there.
Yeah.
And I thought, all right, let me start this company, and I will release all of my friends' food products. I will give them a shot. I'll give them all a shot. You know what I mean? And that's kind of where it started. We'll see where it goes. It's still going to be like a record label. If you come to me, I'm going to have to like it. I'm not just going to put junk.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But so I, my brain, I'm taking what I know in the music business and trying to turn it into something, to apply that to the food industry, and we'll see where it goes with that. I'm excited about that, but that's going to be a slow build. That's not all right. And today we're releasing a new book or anything like that. There'll be a big release party or anything, but it's fun. And again, you have a hot sauce. It's fun.
Yeah. Yeah, it is. That's a great idea. That concept.
Yeah. So that's where we're going with that.
Awesome. So now your sauce, when I can't buy it right now, right?
No, it's actually next week we're going into the first batch of manufacturing.
Okay.
Yeah. So, but then when it's done, it'll be for sale in the next 2 weeks.
Awesome. And that's called number 4?
Yeah, that one's called Evick number 4. But it's funny because I guess there's Heinz 57 and then there's WD 40, and all those numbers are for the amount of attempts it took till they got it right. I don't know if you know that, but WD 40,
I did not know that.
the 40 is the 40th version of it before it was right. And
Really? I didn't
yeah,
know.
and I always loved that concept. So that's why we called it Evick number 4.
It took you 4 times.
Yeah, I flat out stole the idea. I just ripped it off.
I thought after reading this book, you referenced number 9. I thought that number 4 was something like that.
Oh, what do I reference number 9? Forgive me for.
Van Halen, the 9th
Oh,
track.
yeah. Oh, yeah. No. 4 was just
I thought it was something like that after I read the book.
No. It was just my 4th attempt at getting it. It was Clark's 4th attempt at getting it right. Let me put it that way. I used to make it at home, like I said, and then when I told Clark I want to make this, but we need to make it in giant batches instead of little quart of it or whatever.
Uh-huh.
It took him 4 times around to make 5 gallons of it and make it taste right.
Yeah, that's awesome, man. You have a lot going on,
Yeah,
so
and I like to mix records.
and you like to mix records. That's another conversation.
Right.
So you're back out with Bret Friday, I believe, but don't you have something I just saw posted on
Oh, Thursday night, me and Chad are doing our acoustic thing.
right? Okay.
Yeah, it's the Parti-Gras pre-party that we're gonna do. Yeah, and that thing goes well. You still yet to see that,
I've yet
right?
to see it. I
Yeah,
want to.
yeah. We did it last week. We did it after a show in St. Louis. I played the Parti-Gras in St. Louis, and we went to a bar. And by midnight, we were doing that and called it the after party. And we had a packed house, man. Had a lot of fun. It was awesome. It's, we did M3. We did the pre party for M3 with it last year, the acoustic thing. And they already invited us back to do it again this year. And do you know who Tyson Leslie is?
Yeah.
Tyson may join us for some of those gigs.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
yeah, that's fun. I got to catch a show. I got to catch it.
I'll I told you I'll fly you. Come on. I'll pay for your plane ticket. Come somewhere and see it.
I will. We'll talk about that.
All right.
All right, man. Well, listen, I appreciate it. Congratulations on the book release. Again,
man.
MTV Famous. Get it at Amazon.
Yeah,
man. And good luck with the tour, the rest of the tour.
You got it. I'll see you at the last date of the whole thing. You get to see the end of it.
Better be good.
I hope so. It better be. All my family's coming, everybody. So it better be a good night,
All right, man. Listen, stick around, okay?
Yep.
All right.